All right, we are going to start with the Ohio ID accounts. If you haven't used this before, this was formerly known as SAFE. This is where you're going to find all of the trainings for mentor or facilitator trainings. So I do know that we have already had some new mentors that have completed the 2-day academy, and the feedback they gave to me is that the new academy is online modules. It's super easy to schedule. It was like 4 to 6 they did one day and 4 to 6 on another day. You do this through the ESC. If you do not do that through the local ESC, it can be through any ESC. It doesn't have to be through Fairfield County, just so you know. Facilitators, your training is free, it's online. If you go to Learning Management Systems and go to the course catalog and scroll down, you'll see the facilitator training. So mentors are year 1 and 2, and facilitators are year 3 and 4. Actually, today we got new information. There is now an additional name, which is called a colleague. So if you have a year 4 resident educator and you have not gone, you do not have to go through the facilitator training if you haven't. You can be a resident educator colleague for a year 4 and just guide them through the leadership process and use the leadership modules there to guide that. So you do not have to do additional training for year 4. Anybody new, our next meeting is just for new people, and it's just basically a virtual check-in. It's not going to be long. It's just going to be you jumping on, letting me know I've done some research, getting my training, it's scheduled, it's completed, wherever you are in the process, so that I can see if we are on target for getting our training complete to make sure we have everybody in place. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I do. So if we do our training every year, because I was new last year and I did the training, do I have to do it every year or is it just once?
Nope. Once you do it, there's actually not an expiration date on it.
Okay.
So it's indefinite. If you've done it once, and I shouldn't say indefinite, maybe they'll change that in a year or 2, but there's nothing else that you need to do if you did it last year.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Google Classroom. So I know that I sent this in the email. I have it here. Please write down this code if you have misplaced or deleted the email. I know I delete emails sometimes after I read them to try to keep my inbox cleaned up, but please write down your code and please get logged into that Google Classroom when you can. That's where we're going to communicate most of the year. We're going to have resources that'll be posted in there. The program guides are going to be posted in there. I might post meeting changes in there. Anything you need to know will be in the Google Classroom. Initially, I sent out emails because we didn't have the Google Classroom set up. But from here on out, it'll mostly be Google Classroom. So instead of me sending an email, I'll post messages in there. So it's not really going to be a lot for year 3, year 4. You'll probably see a little bit more if you're year 1, year 2, but that's where all our communication will be. And if you have a question about anything, don't hesitate, again, as I said, to ask it in that public forum, because if you have that question, somebody else might have it too. So that way we don't have to answer it multiple times. It's there for everyone to see. Program guides. So there's going to be a guide for each year. I don't know if this has been done in the past. I don't know really what that training looks like, but I'm going to show you an example of one after we talk through this a little bit. I'm not going to go through all 4 years of them. They're all done. I'm going to post them either later this evening or tomorrow morning into the Google Classroom so that you can just look through your specific year and we don't have to spend time going through several years that might not apply to you. So in the program guides, it's going to be like a one-stop shop of resources. There'll be focused mentoring sessions that are linked to there. collaborative logs, links, like year 3, all the due dates will be in there. Year 4, examples of leadership opportunities. So all that will be within the program guide. It's pretty short and sweet and very self-explanatory. So why the program guides? So prior to getting hired, I did a little recon and kind of talked through some things with some residents and asked what their feedback was of the program. Some of the feedback that I got is that they felt like sometimes they didn't know what they didn't know to ask questions on. So I'll just give you one example. Stephanie gave me a resource for technology, of a technology where it's a district place. They might not know to even ask for that. So this is our way of providing a little bit of structure of things that we might focus on that are district-wide. And then at the end of each, there's the time to talk about individualized things. What a teacher needs in Tusing is not going to be what a teacher needs in Ridgeview or Central. So making sure that we have that time for structure and individualized time with our resident educators. So because this is all new feedback, it's super, super important to me to get feedback on these program guides. What to add, what needs updated, what needs removed, what resources maybe it's missing that you might want or the resident educator might want. It can be feedback, it can be good or bad, I don't care. Like, this is ridiculous, like we don't have time for this, this is not important. Or maybe it's something that is, you know, we did this in September, but we really weren't ready for it. That might be better suited in March. So that kind of feedback, constructive criticism, that way at the end of the year, we can kind of go through these guides and make sure that I revise them. And please, if there's resources that you find, please don't hesitate to post those in the Google Classroom as well. That maybe would be something that we could put in the guide for next year, or maybe it's not something that a mentor or facilitator had thought about talking with their resident educator on. So that's something that we would add additional communication, collaboration between all of us. All right, so I'm just gonna click on a little guide here so that I'm gonna show you this. Like I said, I'm not gonna make you sit through all of them. Bear with, I'm in Lakeview and sometimes the office I'm in, it takes a little bit longer to load. I'm spinning a little bit. So here is what August would look like. Of course, we're past August now because we are a little bit behind. But so most of these things are probably already done, but it would also be beneficial to review that professional growth plan with your RE if you haven't done it yet. But as you can see here, communication, collaboration, classroom management, and professional growth and professional learning focused mentoring, those are all components of ODE's program. So those are all things that we have to discuss based on the requirements of ODE. Then we get down to a couple of the bottom things. This is more individualized, building stuff, district stuff. So then documentation down here in the bottom are collaborative logs. The check-in is really for me. I just kind of want to know how everybody's doing and how it's going. Question? Was there a question in the chat box?
Yes, Tara, sorry to interrupt. I was just wondering if this checklist was already in Google Classroom. I couldn't find it, but I think you're posting it later.
Yep, I'll be posting it either tonight or tomorrow.
Thank you.
Depending on if my baseball game is canceled for tonight based on the weather. So anyway, All of these resources are linked, like I said. If there's anything that you think needs added, please let me know. Also, you do not have to do all of these things in order as long as these things are done in that month. So if you meet, RE1s, you meet weekly. You don't have to meet weekly with an RE4. And their lists are going to look completely different. Every year they look different of what we need to do. So this is just kind of an overall view of what these program guides look like. If you go down to the bottom, there's a couple that have, let's see, like November, December. We know the holidays, there's things in there that are specific to the holidays, but also classroom management is a piece of an ODE requirement. So those are things that we kind of modified, hit the ODE standard, and then also we're able to think about what our own students are needing. So these focused mentoring activities, these are all provided by ODE. And if you don't have to go through them exactly like ODE just provides those examples for us. But this would be like, you have 2 months to complete this checklist, because then you also have your individualized needs within. So if you go down to the bottom of every program guide, there will be other information there. So RE1s, this part's super important. They have to have 8 observations per year. Usually we try to do 1 collaborative observation. I'm not sure if those subs are available to do that. So if subs are not available, at least they'll still do their 8, whether they get to do 1 with you or not. So at the bottom again of each program guide, there's going to be, I can't get that word out, other information that's going to be specific to that year, like RESA dates will be in year 3. Does anybody have any questions about that? Like I said, I'll have those posted either this evening or tomorrow morning. Organization. So what we'd like to see is that we have either a drive or a shared folder between you and your resident educator where you could keep those collaborative logs so that you both can work on them if needed. But we have one-stop shop where that you guys can share resources, things that you talked about, your logs, anything that's needed that we might look at later on. They do not have to keep hard copy binders of anything if you have it all digital. If you're not keeping it digital, then make sure you do have the hard copy binder, and you wouldn't have to keep it year after year if you prefer it, but just to look at the end of the year that you've met all the requirements. At the end of the year, like I will look at, do you have all your collaborative logs? Did they complete, not you? Did the resident educators complete all the required components? So I'll probably not keep access to them. I'm probably not gonna, if you wanna add me at the beginning, you can, but I'll need access at the end of the year to go through and make sure that they have all those required components of what they need. Credits. So in the past, if you were a facilitator, you could go through Ashland and you can get 1 credit. If you were a mentor and facilitator, you could get 3 credits. I'm hoping, and I don't even know if they do this, that maybe I would try to push for getting 3 credits for a mentor and 1 for a facilitator. So if you were doing both, you could get 4, but I'm not really sure if they'll approve that or not, because I don't know if it's systematic and that's what they do for everyone, but that's what I'm at least going to try for. If not, you'll at least be able to get 3 credits if you're a mentor facilitator in 1. So as soon as I have that information, I will share that again in the Google Classroom. So meeting dates, all mentor meetings will be virtual. We'll do it just like this. I'll record it so that people that don't have the time to attend has the recording so that they can view it later and maybe do an exit ticket. Not sure yet or how that'll work, but all mentor meetings will be virtual. Facilitators, you do not have a required monthly meeting, but you are able to attend RE3 meetings to learn more about RESA if you would like to. I would suggest I can let you know what the content of the meeting is, and I can post the agenda into the Google Classroom prior to the meeting. So I'll post the agendas for the RE3s and 4s, and I will also post them in the Facilitator Google Classroom. That way you can kind of base your decision on whether you want to attend or not based on what the content of the meeting is. That is all that I have today. Does anyone have any questions? You guys are a pretty easy group. No questions. All right, well, I'll get you out of here because now we're a little bit over 20 minutes and I didn't want to keep everybody that long. And new mentors and facilitators